Renewable energy is a growing source of economic activity in many of North Carolina's communities, particularly our rural ones. It doesn't happen without strategy. Let's talk about how some communities are strategizing to maximize the impact. I'm pleased to be joined in this segment by Don Vaart, Senior Fellow with the John Locke Foundation. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking rural economies. What is the prospect of renewable energy serving as a catalyst?
Well, certainly North Carolina is a great place to study that question. We have had a dramatic increase in solar development, especially in eastern North Carolina. We also have one of the larger wind farms on the East Coast here in North Carolina, up in northeast North Carolina. So we certainly have a lot of information that we can use to decide what's next. But money is part of it. If it were easy, we'd already have a completely solar/wind energy system. But in fact, we're at the point in North Carolina, we're now second in the nation in solar capacity installed, that the easy locations to put these farms are gone. And so now you're looking at having to, people call it grid modernization, you call it redoing their grid, but we'll have to spend some money to provide the grid the kind of upgrade it needs for more solar.
And where does that funding come from?
Right, and that's exactly one of the issues in a recent dispute between the solar industries and Duke Power. Duke was trying to get somebody else to pay for that, probably the solar companies, and the solar companies wanted Duke to fund some of that, and Duke did come forth with a proposal, a $13 billion proposal to do a lot of work, including modernize the grid, and that's in the process. So ultimately, it'll probably be the ratepayer who pays for that. Wind also is because both are intermittent sources, that is, they work sometimes, that puts a lot of stress on the grid. So, wherever you place it, the grid's got to be able to handle that. You've also got to build additional combustion turbines or some other kind of power that is what we call dispatchable to make up the difference, unless we get storage, some sort of battery storage, hydraulic storage, or some way to store the power that solar farms are producing during the day, but they can't at night.
And that would be a game changer for the industry.
Totally a game changer. We're not there yet. That is where in my opinion, we need to develop and spend more money. But North Carolina, being, like I said, a leader, has certainly shown that you can drop the price of solar, for example, if a lot of investments are made, and a lot of investments have been made. So we've seen solar prices come down somewhat.
What kinds of disputes are we likely to see at the local level?
So some of the issues that they face, obviously there's good tax revenues coming in when you've got a plant of any kind producing, in this case, electricity, but they could produce tires or some other commodity. And so that's always a benefit. These industries, both wind and solar, do take a lot of footprint. And so you're having to weigh the opportunity cost of, what could you do with, the land if it weren't used for a solar or wind installation. So you have that. You've also got NIMBY, not in my backyard type complaints. You're seeing that around the country. You've seen it here in North Carolina. Typically, that's why you need a very, very rural setting so that you don't have a lot of people objecting. You saw offshore wind being protested up off the shore of Cape Cod, for example.
Right.
Well, they didn't want to look at those windmills while they were sunning. So those are issues. There are also subsidies that are being provided that the local communities are paying for. There is a 80% tax break for the improved property values when a solar plant comes in. Some people say, hey, why do I have to help pay for that? And then finally, the whole question is total electricity costs.
Yeah.
And when the electricity costs are low, you are able to bring manufacturers in and other jobs. So you have to weigh those as well, and that's a difficult task and that's why energy policy. People talk all about energy policy. We don't have an energy policy. Sure,
It's
we
tough
do.
stuff.
It's tough
It's
stuff.
tough
If it were
stuff.
easy, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Don, thank you so
That's
much
right.
for sharing.
Sure.